to the boardroom. This is the business of esports. As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports weekly news show / post-podcast live stream. I am Paul Dewalibi. I'm joined today by my friends and co-hosts, Lindsay the Boss Poss, Jeff the Juice Cohen, and Jimmy Barada. For those of you who are new here, welcome. What we do here is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week. But usually it's all the stuff that just didn't make it into the podcast, which these days is all the news. And the best part is we get to do it live with you guys. And you get to challenge us, ask questions, get in our faces. We welcome you to do that. We know so many of you lurk and watch, or maybe watch this in rerun, or as a VOD, I should say. But if you're here live, welcome. And encourage you guys to participate. If you haven't yet, tell your friends about the live stream. Bring them, your colleagues, your family. Force them to watch. Like don't let them make excuses. Actually sit them down and don't let them go anywhere. How are you guys doing this week, Lindsay?
Doing so good. It's been a busy week.
I feel like the holiday flew by. It's like it came and went in a flash. I know we missed a lot of our regulars last week because of Thanksgiving, so hopefully everyone's back and rested. But Jeff, Jimmy, how are you guys doing?
I'm good. I went to a conference today. It was not it was a betting conference, so it was not an esports conference. So, it was a little disappointing not to be walking around like a celebrity. Like when I walk around with Paul the Prophet and Jimmy, at all the esports conferences, it's like. It's like we're celebrities, but clearly at this conference, that was not the case. I was just regular old Jeff, not, the juice. But I did wear
on your name tag. Do you not?
I did wear a blazer that Jimmy gifted to me, so I looked good, but I was not a celebrity.
Was it a purposeful gift, or Jimmy forgot a blazer somewhere?
I think Jimmy's lost some weight and it didn't fit him anymore, but it was that's my suspicion.
Okay. Just part of the conversation in Austin and wanting to help Jeff out a little bit.
I didn't realize you guys were this close all of a sudden. We're sharing clothes now.
I'm a charity case.
We're just mirrors of each other, except I'm not wearing a hat and Jeff's not wearing glasses. Got the bulldogs, got the beautiful paramours. We're the same guy.
I will say, for those of you who are listening tonight, I actually am not sure if the first episode's up, but for sure it will be up tomorrow, of the new Meta Business podcast, which is very exciting. Lindsay's first episode of the Meta Woman podcast is coming next week. Expect that to drop Tuesday. So all kinds of new content coming. Today, though, and we told this story on the Meta Business podcast, the Meta Business podcast recording was thoroughly interrupted by Bradley the Bulldog.
You should have brought him on, gotten his takes.
It really was. We were doing it, and I hadn't taken him out since like 8 a.m. because I was at the conference, and he was standing by the window next to me, going crazy, like making these like goat noises, like
he's
freaking
a big fan
out.
of the metaverse.
And at one point, at first we were just like kind of playing through it, and then at one point I was like, I just like can't. Like, it was too distracting.
Greg says, did you wear the hat at the conference? Maybe that's why you weren't recognized.
I did not wear it to the conference, but I did wear it recently to a business lunch with an investment banker, and he was like, "Nice hat." Like, I think he was thoroughly impressed. Or
did you explain
just
to
said
him
that,
it was
but
from Sweden?
I did. I told no, I didn't. I didn't.
Just start telling
Should've.
everyone you run into.
Yeah.
Robert, hello. Great to have you here. Great to see you. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Guys, we have a couple things to tease first. First, the podcast, a Business of Esports podcast, which drops tomorrow. We had Anita Sharma on the podcast, a lawyer with Sharma Law, discussed some pretty cool things, including a topic we're going to discuss right now or today or tonight, the Ludwig move from Twitch to YouTube, and some of the sort of the, you know, as a talent manager and lawyer, some of the things she'd be thinking about if she were advising Ludwig. And so good discussion there, very relevant, very topical. Definitely tune in for that. And the Meta Business podcast, I will tease, Jeff and I had filmed a great first episode, I think, where we found an article that had a bunch of quotes from some of the biggest luminaries in tech and gaming and all of their viewpoints and stances on the metaverse. So, and it's hilarious to see how each person, right, from the CEO of Verizon to, you know, Tim Sweeney and everything in between, how they frame the metaverse in their own kind of fishbowl, right? Like the everyone sort of has their own framing and context that they apply to it. And I think it was very fascinating. I hope you guys really enjoy it. Would love feedback. So if you're a fan of the Business of Esports and you go subscribe to the Meta Business podcast, listen to it, watch it, however you get it, would love if you guys came back with feedback and let us know what you thought. All right, we want to jump into some gaming news here. Is that what we're doing?
That's what we do here.
This is a new show. Let's do it.
Should we start with should we start with the Ludwig news? I feel like we have to. This is just too much of a recurring theme.
It's big, yeah.
And it's, you know, it's another big move. So the headline here from .esports, Ludwig moves to YouTube gaming. He made a little like teaser video, and then he, on his stream, I think he made like an announcement video in terms of his reasoning. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'll be honest. I watched up until he said like YouTube offered him more money. And then I was like, okay, I got the gist of it. Let me turn this off. But I'm curious what you guys think, right? Because we've now seen Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo, Dr. Disrespect, while they're big on doctors over at YouTube, Courage JD, right? Like, and now Ludwig, who arguably was, not arguably, like top 5 at Twitch, right? Maybe even top 3. What is like, at some point, do we start drawing different conclusions, or is this more of the same? Jimmy, Jeff, go ahead.
You know, I know sometimes we don't have the nicest things to say about YouTube gaming's management, so I don't know how we'll take this, but is it fair to say that if they're continuing to do this strategy, it must be showing some sorts of returns? Otherwise, I would think that they wouldn't be doubling and tripling down. So maybe the ones that they have signed already to exclusive deals have been showing positive ROI, or at least the right KPIs that they're looking for.
I think it's still kind of early to make that call. I feel like a lot of these, the time it takes to negotiate, and the amount that we've seen, you know, we're not at this level where there's so many going through. There's definitely, you know, more than 1 or 2. I'm not sure if that's the case. When I look at this, and to your point, like, we do criticize YouTube gaming a lot here, and for good reason. But what I would say is kudos to Ludwig. You know, if you look at it from the talent perspective, he's collecting the bag, or, you know, whatever that expression is. The guy's getting paid. This is you know, we saw from the Twitch leak, right, like what these guys are making. And if he has the opportunity to basically make all of that in one quick opportunity, the way Ninja did, you know, albeit under different circumstances, I think they need to capitalize while they can. Because if YouTube gaming crashes and burns, or if his audience fails to follow him after the end of the term, he just goes back to Twitch. And I think this brand is strong enough that he can afford to take a gamble right now, get a pretty nice paycheck, see if his brand follows him, and really test. It's only upside, because if he moves and the brand follows him, then he can take that to any advertiser, any sponsor, and say, look how awesome my fans are and how great I am. And if he totally fails, he just goes back to Twitch, where I think it's
and
easy
blames
for him,
YouTube.
and
Right?
blames YouTube.
He has a
Exactly.
scapegoat.
Yeah.
Has anyone done a post-mortem about how that moved back, like with Ninja and some of these guys? Like, has their audience rebuilt itself, or has it been less?
Less, but there's too many variables also, right? It's like
Fortnite, right?
Fortnite,
Ninja
right?
and Fortnite.
Like,
The Fortnite effect. So
there are hidden variables and stuff. Like, Jimmy, I think your point's a really good one. But I like, to Jeff's point, if anything, I think the only data we have proves that they should stop doing this, right? Like, the YouTube continues to lose market share from a streaming perspective to Twitch. And so it's like, if you look at the data says stop this. Instead, the reaction is, well, we need to keep doing this because at some point this will fix the problem, right? This feels like a fix in some ways. As I've said this many times before, history will say that this was a really bad decision, but no one will care because Google has the money to blow, right? Fundamentally, the bigger lesson here is Jimmy's point, which is creators' brands now are what matter. That's what matters, right? Ludwig can go to YouTube, he can go to Facebook, he can go to Twitch. It doesn't matter. He'll still be able to draw an audience and draw sponsors. It may be smaller at YouTube, but it doesn't matter because he can always leave YouTube, blame YouTube, do whatever he wants with his brand, and I don't think it gets hurt in any way. Lindsay, I don't know. Do you see any risk for him? Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I guess, Lindsay, before you answer that question, I just wanted to rebut Paul a little bit, because like, I think what you said, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, go ahead, Lindsay. I'll come back. I was gonna rebut Paul, and then I realized you can't rebut Paul. So
a good lesson to learn, I suppose.
It seems that way.
Learn the hard way here.
Well, you were saying that like streamers' brands and audiences transfer with them, but wouldn't that kind of disprove the point if you're saying YouTube strategy is not working because the people's audience are not transferring with them?
What I'm saying is it doesn't matter if they transfer or not, that the creator's brand will hold its value whether he's successful on YouTube or not. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's fair, but still, I feel like if that was the case and the brand and the audience was transferring, wouldn't it be a good strategy? Again,
I didn't say 20,000 people who watch him on Twitch are now going to be 20,000 people who watch him on YouTube. But the Ludwig brand and it's how it's recognized among gamers, I think will stay intact even if he only draws 1,000 viewers on YouTube, which may be the case, right? And so the way I frame in my mind is sort of the way Jimmy framed it, which is there's zero downside for Ludwig. This is all upside, right? It either works spectacularly well on YouTube, in which case he's happy, or it crashes and burns on YouTube, in which case he already got paid and he can blame YouTube. So there's really no downside I see, and that's why my question, to you guys or to Lindsay was, is there any brand risk to Ludwig?
Oh, no, I don't think so. And I don't think anyone's going to fault him for going and chasing a big fat paycheck. That's not an issue. The thing that this makes me wonder about, though, is obviously this strategy of signing immensely popular Twitch streamers over to YouTube hasn't really impacted YouTube's share of the gaming space in terms of time spent watched on YouTube. So I'm more so wondering, I mean, we've already kind of pointed that out. Like, it's not a great strategy. It's not working very well. They keep offering these big contracts, which is great for streamers. Why not? There's pretty much no risk because nobody's watching you anyways, and you just make a buttload of money and go back to Twitch in a couple of years when YouTube doesn't work out. So totally, why not? But what's it going to take for YouTube to capture more of this brand share? Because clearly it's not bringing the influencer strategy here is not working.
I mean, I have a thought on that, but I'm curious if you guys have thoughts.
I definitely want to hear your thought, because it does seem like they've tried the leagues, like exclusive rights, albeit probably with the wrong leagues, but they tried that strategy, and now they're trying exclusive content with influencers. So it seems to me that they have strategies, they just haven't worked, and they seem like on paper and like in a business school case study they would be the right strategy. So I am curious, Paul, what your take is.
because none of those strategies are fundamentally aligned with the core values and the core competencies of the company they work for, which is Google, right? Google is a first and foremost technology and product company. This is not about entertainment. This is not about content creators. Like, this is not about exclusives. To me, the only strategy that could possibly work for YouTube is real groundbreaking innovation from a product and technology standpoint, which is what they should be good at. And ironically and baffling is that it's the one area that YouTube gaming has suffered the most, right? Like, it's literally just a poor copy of Twitch from 3 years ago is basically what YouTube gaming is. And so the answer is simple in my mind. It's management that just doesn't really know what they're doing, but it's lean into what the expertise and core competency of the company you work for is. Build unbelievable features, right? Like, build things that allow people to stream from anywhere, anything, on connections that are no good, right? Like, leverage all the negative latency technology you built for Stadia. Like, lean into the technology and product standpoint and make streaming just so compelling on YouTube that no one would even think about going and doing it on Twitch just because the feature set doesn't exist there.
Which ironically was the business plan for Stadia, whereas the business plan for Stadia should have been create great exclusive content. It's like they basically took the business, like the strategy that would have worked for Stadia and switched it with the one that would have worked for YouTube gaming.
To be fair, Stadia's strategy of product and technology excellence would have worked if it truly was product and technology excellence. The problem is it didn't work. You had to plug the controller in. It was laggy as hell. Like, it only worked with certain phones and not others, right? Like, let's be clear. The execution, even though the strategy was correct, the execution was the problem there, not so much the strategy. Goyo says, happy Wednesday, everyone. Goyo, welcome back. Great to see you this
Goyo.
week. Guys, any other thoughts on Ludwig? Can I ask a question to all of you? Just give me throw out a number between now and the end of first quarter 2022. How many more big Twitch streamers get signed by YouTube? Lindsay?
I think probably I'm gonna go low and say 2. At some point they have to make the ones that they have work too. I don't know.
Mhm.
Tim the Tatman and Dr. Disrespect are really just so high up there. They're losing talent to poach at this point.
Yeah, I mean, XQC is the big holdout, right? That's
Yeah,
he's the
and
biggest fish.
he's not gonna do what he doesn't want to do either. He's less, in my mind, he's less amenable.
I mean, he
he's
just
less
bought a
amenable
McLaren
than the other
720S, so maybe
Got to
he
pay
needs
for that somehow.
Maybe he needs the YouTube bag.
Paul's on his close friends on Instagram. I just know it.
Jimmy, what's
No,
your view?
I like Lindsay's reasoning. I was thinking 3 or 4 also. I mean, it's a relatively short amount of time. They already have a lot of big names, and to Jeff's first point, if it's working, we'll see more of it, but that's going to take time to tee up and to accomplish. And you limited the question to kind of that higher tier creator, so it's a smaller pool to draw from, inherently. So maybe if this was a mid-tier, kind of bracket that we were looking at, I don't even know if they're looking in that realm yet, but there's more opportunity there as well. It seems like they're really going for that, head of the snake approach, and there's just not a lot of opportunity there, and there's not a lot of reason to do more when they already have a good amount. Like Lindsay said, that we got to see if these guys are even working for us in the first place. So I thought she was spot on.
Jeff, it's like EEG signing sports teams. How many more?
Well, I mean, lock down everyone we can. Sorry, you threw me off there. It's like the third time. Just the look of Paul throwing me off to that. I'm like nervous.
It's the white sweatshirts.
I was gonna say,
Hey, it's Twitch.
I actually was gonna
Actually.
defer the whole thing. What is it?
It's Twitch.
Oh, here's your chance
Okay.
to defer, Jeff. Get out of it.
Well, I was gonna say you guys covered it pretty well, and I'll take the Price is Right approach and say 5.
5 big ones.
Higher.
That'd
Higher
be
than what you
interesting.
guys said.
All right. Goyo says Stadia is fighting an uphill battle trying to compete with real hardware with zero latency. They were never going to achieve that with cloud gaming. Exclusives was the way to go. I mean, yeah. It's the problem is I don't know if the exclusives would have like overcome the technology problems, right? Just because it's the only place you can play something. If it's a horrible experience playing it, people still aren't going to play it. On that note, this is a great segue actually to the next story here, which is also console related. And the headline here is Xbox reportedly edges out PlayStation in Black Friday 2021 sales. No thanks to the Series X. And what they're basically saying is that the console that sold the most was actually the little Series S, like the more stripped down Xbox console. That was the best selling console of the 2021 Black Friday sales of the three, basically. It's the lower priced version. I'm curious, guys, do you have any thoughts on this other than like basic, business school? What is it called? Perfect price discrimination here, right? Where Microsoft had 2 price points to choose from and PlayStation only had 1? Or do you have other thoughts, Jeff?
Or
Jimmy?
Jeff,
Sorry.
No, Jimmy, go, because I was gonna give that exact sort of. I was my basic answer was just gonna be that I mean on Black Friday you typically have like a consumer that's looking for sales, and this was the lower price one, so that's what they went with.
Definitely interested to see how it compares to previous years and previous gens, but I would imagine a lot of people were surprised by this because when you're close to the holidays, when you have big sales, you get that holdout item, right? You go a little bit bigger because you're getting it for that much cheaper. I think what this shows, or what this says to me, is there's either a lot of people that went for the Xbox or went for the PlayStation first that want to give the Xbox a try. There's a lot of people that are Nintendo or mobile or PC gamers that now are looking for a secondary console for their home. And don't want to splurge on something top of the line where they're putting a backup console in their guest room, and they're taking it to wherever they need a second console for. And I think I just think it's people that are already gaming on other platforms that this is really them trying to just try out an Xbox. I know when I first got that, I have that same Xbox. I'm a PC gamer, but I missed having an Xbox. I wanted it in a different room for that couch gaming environment, as opposed to being at my computer station. And that was the one I got because I thought it'd be good enough for what I needed to run it on. And so maybe that's why I'm feeling that way, but I'm pretty surprised by it. But I think that's what, or at least that's what the story's telling me. There's a lot of gamers that are playing on other platforms that are now also adding an Xbox to their homes as a second console or a second way to game.
Could we not conclude that in some ways consoles maybe are moving further down market, right? Like that cost is the bigger concern and the bigger feature, not performance or technology?
I think that's true with other areas though, because phones are going in the same direction. Every major phone company now is offering like the high-end phone and then the lower end $400 model. So I think that I think honestly it just might be a consumer choice thing where people are just tired of paying really high prices for things. And there's just an opportunity now to offer something for cheaper and recapture a lot of the market share. I mean, Google did, like with phones, again, Google did the cheaper version of the Pixel first, and then Apple came out with the cheaper version of the iPhone. Both of them were massive successes. Now you start seeing cheaper versions of things. So
why any theories on why Sony did not release a cheaper version of the PlayStation, like a PS5 Lite? Again, if we're talking basic business school, price discrimination here, why did Sony miss the boat there? Any theories on maybe why they've done that?
I would be surprised if they hadn't released a statement to that effect in the past, because I think well, actually, didn't they come out with a PS2 Slim? I remember I had a PS2 Slim at one point.
Yeah, but that's like 2 years after the console came out, where they they were able to fit it into a more compact package. It wasn't like selling two at the same time, one a higher performance, higher price, one lower performance, lower price.
I'm thinking that's just their MO though, right? Like they are dictating the experience that you're having. They don't want to give you the option for a cheaper less robust experience. That if you want to play on the PlayStation, we're giving you this tier 1 product. If you want something shitty, go buy your back, your secondhand Xbox. That's kind of, I feel like that's their MO, is like you're getting this or you're getting nothing from us.
Yeah, but they
Yeah, I
seem to
feel
be.
like-
Sorry, Lindsay, go ahead.
Oh, I just was going to say, I feel like this is more so a forward-thinking move from Xbox, who is recapturing the secondary gaming market, than it is a active choice for Sony, I guess. I'm not sure if that's the right phrasing, but essentially, I think that Xbox is just the first mover in this kind of market. And I personally think it's very forward thinking. I think it's much more accessible. I think, like Jimmy said, a lot of people will get it as secondary consoles. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think that Sony has come up with that yet.
It's just
When you say secondary console, you mean like the second console someone owns?
Right.
No,
Like,
secondary device. Like if you own a PC.
Like you own a PC and then
Yeah.
you get that, yeah.
I meant both. You can have two Xboxes, or you can have a PC and an Xbox. You could be a mobile gamer and now want to get an Xbox. So kind of
People are also
honestly,
traveling
both.
more with consoles now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just easier.
Yeah, you put it in your Gucci handbag and then
Exactly.
I think that Gucci was so forward thinking. They hit the nail on
Yeah.
that.
Ninja
Well,
got one. I don't know if you guys saw.
I am surprised though. I have a couple of friends who legitimately carry their PS4s with them everywhere they go. Like they have a PS4 backpack, like no matter where
PS4 is
they're staying.
So big.
I know.
Well,
I know. It's just PS4 is the first one I think of because I'm thinking of one specific friend. But I know multiple people who actually carry their consoles with them, and this would really be convenient.
I just think Sony's really missing the boat, and fundamentally probably don't understand the bulk of their audience, right? Like my theory on console gamers, and I don't have data to back this up, is that I would bet good money 80% of them can't tell the difference between 45 FPS and 65 FPS, right? Like just couldn't tell the difference. And so why wouldn't you sell a console that's $100 cheaper or $150 cheaper and capture a much bigger swath of the audience? To me, it's very smart on Microsoft's part. I'm sure they're also just like leveraging it's bin chips, right? Chips that didn't meet the spec for the Series X. They just put it on a Series S. There's all kinds of like good reasons
Here's
to
a
do it
question, not
this
to cut
way.
you off. I mean, I want to just bring up Chris's point about, because I think it's interesting about Halo. We've all been very focused on the price point. I think that's because which console sold more within the Xbox SKU lineup. But I think we can't underestimate, and I think I would like to talk a little bit about, just the success of Halo and how that probably drove a lot of these console sales. I think that's an important thing that Chris brings up there.
Chris says inventory equals success, but they marketed the console hard via email and social. Also, Halo commercials on traditional TV was ludicrous the past couple of weeks. Yeah, they got a lot of free tailwind kind of thing because of Halo.
We need to get into the Halo story, by the way, because you were really hard on that on the podcast tonight, and I want to hear some comments.
Yeah, actually, that is a good point. But I'm curious to see what everyone in the chat thinks. But I did say I'm going to read these comments, but I will say I played a little bit of the Halo multiplayer over the holiday weekend, and I thought the game was total hot garbage, just hot garbage. I don't think this game has legs at all from a maybe the campaign's great. I don't know. It's not out yet, but multiplayer perspective, it felt like I was playing a shooter from 15 years ago. Just like uninspired level design, horrible movement. The gunplay's decent, but like the two guns you can really you use 90% of the time. It's just there's no variety. There's nothing there interesting. Splitgate is better literally in every way and has a similar aesthetic. So I don't know why anyone would play Halo. That's my hot take there. Let me read these comments, guys, and then we'll get into the Halo discussion because I'm sure you guys have thoughts on that too. Francois says it's hard to buy a PS5 when they're sold out everywhere. That is true. That is a problem. Chris says also not everyone has 4K TVs, so the benefits of the higher end Xbox is a moot point to casual audiences. Yes, exactly, Chris. I agree. And like I'll just take it one step further. Even the people with 4K TVs probably don't realize that a lot of the time, like if you're watching Netflix, it's not even 4K content all the time. Like, and most people can't tell the difference realistically unless you sit very close or take these things very seriously. Matt says, I think some people are being driven to Halo because there are so many problems with the new COD and Battlefield. All three are bad. All three games are bad. Heather says Robert Matthews CTSD. Thoughts on Halo,
Shout out
guys?
there.
Thoughts on Halo?
It's
Yes.
crazy to me that all three of these came out bad. I mean,
Call of
I don't know
Duty
what
is
that
the
says
worst
about, game
Call of
quality.
Duty I've played probably in the last 10 years. Battlefield, it forced me the first time you play into playing like a half an hour round with bots.
Oh.
And I basically just quit 20 minutes in. I'm like, I don't want to spend half an hour playing bots. So I didn't even give it a chance. And Halo was just the worst of the three. It was literally like a shooter from 15 years ago. A 2 or 3 man team could build this in Unreal in a year. I think no problem. There's literally nothing innovative there. Nothing at all.
Halo was reminiscent definitely of older Halo versions. I see what you're saying about the movement. That's something that I kind of missed and was like, oh, this feels like the Halo I know. So I kind of did like that. The guns are terrible. I've played with all the guns by now, and there are like 2 of them that are good, and then the rest you're just like, why do I have this? The maps, I don't know if you tried any of the big team battles, but they're actually a lot more fun than the regular quick play or Slayer type lobbies that they have. But what I like about Halo, honestly, is the battle pass and the grind. I just can't believe they didn't come out with a BR. Like, there's no battle royale, there's no, king of that match that has been so popular and that has been the winning combo for every game for the last 5 years. Like, how did they not include that? For me, is the big question. But I like Chris's point, honestly, because there are a lot of people, I think, that maybe don't play as much anymore, but did get into gaming or did play the original Halo on the original Xbox 15, 20 years ago, and maybe got a cheaper Xbox because they heard that the new Halo was coming out. That's pretty
With
good
all the
observation.
hype around new Halo, a little bit of like nostalgia is not going to save a bad
No.
game, like a fundamentally bad
Well,
game.
here's a question.
It's
for you
also
guys.
still the beta.
But-
It's still the
but-
beta.
Can I tell you what saves Halo, though? Is Game Pass. And Microsoft will bury the failure of this Halo in Game Pass, right? It'll be like, 15 million people played it on Game Pass. Yeah, they played it like me, like once for half an hour and then never again. And so they'll tout it as a success, when in reality, if this was a boxed $60 game, I don't think anyone would have bought it. And if you look at the user numbers on Steam, they're horrible. They're very low. I'm looking now on Twitch. It's decent. There's 48,000 people watching Halo, but compare that to 280,000 watching GTA 5, right? So it's like...
Yeah.
Did any of you also see how it was monetized? I mean, this is so confusing to me, because it's like, what is it? It's free on Game Pass, but only in the multiplayer, or in the multiplayer. No, the single player is also free.
It's also free with a Game Pass subscription, yeah.
Right.
But right now
okay.
it's just the free open beta. So,
But the
But then
campaign
they're
will be
adding
free
on
on Game
they're
Pass.
adding on a
Yeah.
single player campaign
Yes.
for $60.
No,
And then they-
if you have a Game Pass subscription, so
No,
like the
without
$10,
a Game Pass. Without a Game Pass.
then you pay the $60. Yeah.
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 And then
that's
there's also
just
microtransactions, right, for like skins and all the typical stuff that
Yeah.
you see every day.
And if you have a Game Pass, there was a lot. You got access to like a lot more things in the game, didn't you?
No.
That you would have to pay for unless you.
Sometimes they'll
Basically,
give
they're
you
trying to
like a
push people to
free
Game Pass.
skin or wrap or title, but I didn't see any of that for Game Pass. There's like some
Yeah, no.
Founders Edition, shaders that you could put on your characters, throwaway things.
Here's my prediction, though. We're going to see big churn numbers, I think, in Q1 for Game Pass. Not big, but meaning bigger than normal, because I think you're going to get a lot of people who sign up for the free 1-month trial of Game Pass or whatever to play Halo. Halo won't keep them interested for more than a few weeks, basically, or a couple months. And then those people all churn out in the beginning of next year, I think is where this heads.
Hot take.
I mean, the bigger picture question I had is if all three, these were three very highly anticipated shooters, all of them, to your point, Paul, aren't very good or came in worse than expectations, who's the winner then? Is it, hey, well, Apex, because it's still good and all of these weren't good and people thought these were going to take away eyeballs and players from them? Is it Call of Duty because people are still playing Warzone and kind of like the older version of Call of Duty? Like who gains? Clearly the shooter market is massive. people are not going to stop playing shooters. So if they're not going to play these, what are they going to play?
Look, my view on this is it's the indie titles that are winners, right? When there's sort of no AAA to keep your attention. Like I've had friends in my Discord server message me about this game called, have you seen this? Pro Mod. No. Like this is now the everyone what everyone's talking about, right? It's a 5v5 shooter, Counter-Strike sort of style, but with all kinds of new twists and different mechanics and things like that. Like I think it's the people who are taking chances with new kinds of things that will win, at least in the short term. The shooter market, I think, is in the worst place it's been, at least in my memory, right? Probably in the last 20 years.
Well, I mean, what about games like Valorant that are doing still pretty well? And you were just talking about Splitgate. I agree with you that the indies are going to do well just because if there's no king of the hill, everyone else is going to benefit. A lot of the guys that I play with, when they don't want to play Halo or the new COD, they want to play Apex. So again, there are other titles that are decent. It's just there's no Fortnite dominant force that we've been used to recently where you can point to that and say that's the best game out right now or the thing everyone's playing. I think there's just a lot of talent, honestly, to be spread around, and you're just seeing nuances, right, or people's idiosyncrasies, their small little preferences that are leaning towards this good but not fantastic game versus that good but not fantastic game.
Yeah. Chris says, Game Pass still has Forza, Flight Sim, and other solid lineups along with the EA tags. I wouldn't underestimate the staying power of Game Pass. Chris, I think you misunderstood me. I'm a huge fan of Game Pass. I think Game Pass is a huge success and will continue to be. What I'm saying is there's going to be a chunk of people who signed up to Game Pass just for Halo, and that will churn, some larger percentage of them than the normal churn rate will churn out because Halo is not that good. This has I'm not making any statement in terms of me being a fan of Game Pass, which I am. And so this comment hopefully no longer applies. Paul, the PC elite that will leave, he doesn't represent the gamer market at large.
It might apply.
I am a fan of Game Pass, a huge fan of Game Pass, and have been a subscriber myself since it came out, basically.
Should we go trademark that name real quick before Chris beats us to it?
Well, Chris says copy. Thanks for the
it's better than the Prophet.
Well, hold on. I had a
Master
story.
of the Meta, whatever. Master of the Metaverse?
Master of the Metaverse. Adam says, but Halo is amazing, so there's nothing to worry about there. Adam, the rose-colored goggles here, I think. There's a little bit of like, it's new, and everyone loves the new. I don't see amazing there, but I could be wrong. It's unlikely, but I could be wrong. I just wanted to bring this up quickly because Chris accused me of it, and I had this story teed up. This is from notebookcheck.net. The Golden Joystick 2021 Awards, best gaming hardware of all time. Guess who won? So this was voted by the people, right? But so this is readers of this particular publication. For the best gaming hardware of all time, Golden Joystick included nominees like PS1, 2, 4, Nintendo SNES, Nintendo 64, Wii, PC, Atari, like a whole list. As it turns out, PC won this category with 17% of the votes, followed by PS2 with 14%, SNES with 9%, and so on. Gabe Newell accepted the award on behalf of all PC gamers. So there you go. It's
not a fair fight.
It's confirmed.
There you go. You can update every little thing whenever you want and spend as much money as you want to do it. This is why you dislike Mercedes F1, but it's the same reasoning here why PCs are better than consoles, because you can put more money into them and make them better.
I think the console market makes sense, but the same way I think mobile does as a gateway drug. But
yeah, and I think Mercedes racing makes sense. Here we are.
Adam, I'm curious specifically what you love about Halo. I would love to sort of hear the other side or the other argument. as we move on here, but I would love to hear that feedback. Guys, we're going to do a story quickly here on a blockchain gaming story, and I'm putting this in here just as a sort of blatant way to push our new show, the Meta Business Podcast, which discusses only this stuff. So the intersection of the metaverse and gaming and metaverse themes and business and all those things around it. But I thought this story was interesting enough that we should discuss it here. But definitely go check out the Meta Business Podcast when it drops tomorrow, and subscribe for that on a weekly basis. So this story was blockchain gaming guild Avocado raises 18 million from Solana Ventures and others. Okay. And so Avocado raised 18 million from Animoca Brands, Solana Ventures, 3 Hours Capital, and others. The 6-month-old company is now valued at $200 million. According to this article, supposedly they're on track to an $80 million revenue run rate by the end of the year, according to their investor deck. And the round was heavily oversubscribed. They were only looking to raise 5 to 8 million, and they raised 18. What they do, and let me sort of describe this the way I see it, not so much in the words here, but basically, if you want to play certain blockchain-based games like Axie Infinity, players need to buy in, right? You need to buy Axies in this case, which can be expensive. Like they start at $100. And so new players have to spend hundreds of dollars to play these games. What Avocado does is they lend these assets to the players, and then players play the games, these play-to-earn games, and then give back some of their winnings, essentially, to Avocado, to the lender. And when I read this story, for those of you guys who have watched Ready Player One, does this not sound like what's the evil corporation there in Ready Player One? What's it called? Do you guys remember? Where basically what they would do in the movie is this corporation lends to people and then forces them to pay off these loans by participating in their metaverse and their oasis and earning their money back in the game.
Yeah, it's innovative online industries. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
By the way, the book is much better if you have the time. But keep going.
I'm curious what you guys think. Right, there's all this conversation around loot boxes being, not good for gaming, and we want to regulate them and the whole bit. But how do you guys feel about lending to gamers who then have to play to earn games to pay back the loans, essentially?
Super clever. I'm not a fan of playing a game for money, but a lot of people are.
I almost wish that they would stop calling this gaming if this is how the user experience. That's not gaming. It's a digital job, and what you're creating is digital indentured servitude, literally. It's inflammatory to say, but that's basically what that is. Basically what it is, and from a bigger picture perspective, I think it's a real impediment to adoption of blockchain gaming if you have to spend $300 to get into a game. Like, one of the most powerful things in gaming right now is clearly free to play. Like, that has been a massive business model, success story, because it removed all friction and brought people into the game seamlessly. And that's why you have 100 million players on console and 1 billion mobile, 3 billion mobile gamers, whatever the number is because the games are free to play. By making someone pay $300 to get into your game, like, that is a huge impediment to the adoption of these blockchain games.
Yeah, but that's part of the play to earn model, right, Jeff? That's how money gets into the system.
Yes,
right?
And that's a huge problem, though, right? Because when you've created this system and this economy, the only way that play to earn can work is if more people keep coming in to buy those Axies or those tokens. Right? If people,
are you calling this a Ponzi scheme?
I'm saying it feels, unless the industry finds a way to have people who come to the game just for the enjoyment of being in the game and are not trying to make money, it's going to eventually blow up, because like any other pyramid scheme, you have to have new people coming in and buying these tokens and putting money into the system in order for people to be pulling money out of the system.
Not
So
pyramid
taking away
schemes.
the social, taking away the social
Multi-level
thing where I just hate the fact that I hate the fact that
Multi-level
we're kind of
blockchain
creating
gaming.
these basically indentured servitude relationships. Although, I will acknowledge that in the case of Axie, like some of these people have actually been making more money than they would, as a physical laborer or in a minimum wage job. But it's just, I think it does the games business a disservice to have these experiences called games. Because if someone is fundamentally taking out a loan and then going into a digital experience and working, putting in their hours, and then giving that money to someone else, that is not a game. That is a job. Like that is the
Jeff,
definition.
you are not
of a
invited
job.
to my downline.
So,
Depends.
it just, I don't know. This is something that I've been, it worries me a little bit. And I think as we're digging more into this metaverse theme, and this article has got me fired up, it's something that we're going to talk a ton about on our show, Meta Business. It's something the industry needs to figure out, because I really think that it does a disservice to call these games if that is the user experience.
I don't disagree, Jeff. And hold on, it's going to get worse, because I'm going to read another part of this article, but I'm going to read these comments first. Chris says, Dollar Loan Center, the video game. That's basically what it is. Goyo says, on the topic of loans for games, what level of hell is this? Chris says, Jeff sounds a lot like Phil Spencer with that take. Well played. Chris,
Hey.
Stay tuned to Meta Business Podcast, because that topic did come up, Phil Spencer's take. So we won't discuss it here, but on Meta Business Podcast, you will hear a discussion there. Let me give you, Goyo, what level of hell this goes to. So they don't call it loans, and they don't call it, right? Like we're using words that these guilds, Avocado, don't use. What they do is they run what they call scholarship programs. And someone who works for Avocado lends in-game assets to what the players, they call them scholars.
Oh
and
my
so
God.
the rewards are split between the company manager, like account manager essentially, and the scholar. And so they say how their scholarship program includes over 7,000 scholars.
No, this is good, because
Lindsay,
when I look at the
egregious.
student loan industry, I think, why don't we do this everywhere?
You need that in the
That's
metaverse.
the one lesson I take away from the student loans.
So hot take. I mean, when are we going to see some kind of regulation where it's going to restrict the kind of words that they can use, and whether, like Jeff said, whether this is indentured servitude, or to what degree people can buy in and kind of sign away, their rights to this digital job. I don't know. I think that's the next thing I want to see.
I guess it depends on if the MLM lobbyists pick up this as a cause, because MLMs have been allowed to continue, and the direct selling lobby is huge. So if blockchain gaming wanted to hop right on that train, I don't think that the regulations would hurt them too much.
And there's big dollars right behind this now,
Mhm.
right? Big funds that have backed this. There's lots of money. 6-month-old company that's going to do 80 million in revenue this year and has a $200 million valuation. Like, lending is a good business, clearly. Goyo says scholarship programs, scholars. Yeah, I'd like out now. I'm fascinated by this, right? In the same way I'm fascinated by, what happened in the small business lending industry, right? Where small businesses that needed loans were taking out loans at, 20, 30% kind of rates. And the companies got away with it, right? For the most part. And so it'll be fascinating to see how they spin this long term, the marketing words that they use. Like Lindsay said, who gets involved from a lobbying standpoint, but they, whatever they're doing seems to be working. Can't argue with the numbers.
I want to back up a little bit, though, because to me, obviously, this thing is problematic for sure. And when you can call it indentured servitude and have people in the room say, Maybe not too far. Not sure if it's too far. Like, that's not a good sign. But to me, like, the interesting thing here is that people have to pay $300 to get in the first place. And during Jeff's rant, like, I think that's the point. I mean, this company aside,
No, you don't have to pay this company $300.
No,
What they're
I
saying,
know, but
if you want to play the game,
to play the game. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
they're
more
lending you
interesting
$300 worth of assets to
buy
start.
your
Well, these
Axie.
scholars are, but in order,
Yeah.
if you wanted to play Axie,
Free money.
without-
It's free money.
Yeah, that's how
it just creates a
all
big
those
barrier to
work.
entry. And it
Sorry,
almost
Lindsay.
creates this negative cycle where the more successful your game is, the harder it is for people to enter, which, like, I do wonder how, if that's not a sustainable, like a big flaw in the business model of pay to earn, where, like, if your game gets really, really successful, is it going to get to a point where if you want to play like the most successful blockchain pay to earn game, you need to put in $50,000 before you could start playing? Like, how does that, how does that work? Like, at some point, what are we all just going to be joining these like crazy decentralized, like, whatever they call it, scholarships programs in order to get into a game? I don't think that is sustainable.
This is the thing that I want to get your takes on, because that's the more interesting piece of the puzzle, is like just getting into the game. Like, this company aside, just getting into the game seems complicated.
Yeah, you need to join a cult,
I have a totally different view. Why are we not doing a Business of Esports scholarship program? It's, I feel
Business
there's
of Esports Bank.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about something else here. I have a story here from Complexity Gaming, and it's a friend of the podcast, Clinton Sparks, who got me onto this story. Asked for my take on LinkedIn, which I haven't put up yet, so because I want to hear you guys' thoughts. I want to consolidate all of your smart thinking and then put it up on LinkedIn as mine.
In your words.
But it's an interesting story, and the headline here is Complexity Gaming, a GameSquare company, launches Complexity Stars, the world's first gaming division for celebrities and professional athletes. So basically what they're doing is they're bringing together gaming, esports, professional athletes, and celebrities. I'm trying to figure out, I really hate their press release because it doesn't describe it very well, but they're taking people who are stars in other sports, right? Who are not gaming or esports stars, and trying to give them a platform, participate in tournaments, help them with content creation, help them with brand partnerships, sort of like a glorified talent agency in my mind, but for call it mainstream entertainment celebrities and mainstream sports, meet sports kind of stars. What do you guys think of this initiative?
I'll let Jimmy go first.
Yeah, Jimmy, curious what you think here.
I got to navigate it carefully because I know why Clinton asked for your take on this, and I know a lot about kind of how some people are approaching this. There's a lot of stars, there's a lot of traditional entertainment properties that play games and that are constantly looking to leverage their brands and their personalities in this space and to monetize it. No one really knows how to do it. It's kind of just like this hot topic that everyone knows they should be looking at and talking about or looking into. But, if you're a tier 1 celebrity, you have a team of people. So you say, hey, go to, this guy, go figure out how to get my brand in this space and what to do, and then that person has to educate themselves, network, find the right people. So this, the need is definitely there is what I'm trying to say. There's interest from all of these properties and there's a need there. You have a brand as big as Complexity that's saying, come to us, we're going to do this for you. You're an athlete, and bless you, Lindsay. You're an athlete and you want to be here, or you're a star, a celebrity with a brand, and you want to be here and you don't know how to do it. Like, we're going to take a little bit the way you're accustomed to with your lawyer and your manager and your talent rep and all these other people that take their 5-10%. And we're going to do that only with regard to your gaming brand, as opposed to the entire pie, which a lot of these other guys do. And we're going to give you all the assets and resources that you're looking for. Again, it's definitely needed, and it's what I spent a lot of time doing was finding the right people to plug in these celebrities, these entertainment properties, and where to put them. There's a vetting process there. I mean, there's a lot of value, honestly, that something like this offers. And pairing, like I said, with a complexity type brand name is also really valuable because it's like going to be the WME of this space, honestly. So what I think is not whether or not this is a good idea. It's going to be, the truth is how many more of these are we going to see pop up in the next year, where you have teams like Gen G, right, that are like, hey, we're launching a collegiate advising vertical, right? And now you have teams like Complexity that are launching this talent management or this celebrity, what have you, kind of press release in vertical. So, they're all trying to find different ways, I suppose, to say we are an authority in the space. We are gaming, and if you want to be in gaming, come to us, and we'll, whether you're a college, whether you're an athlete, whatever it is for whichever of these companies we're talking about. I think it's just going to become more and more common, honestly, and this is going to be like another vertical for all of these esports teams and orgs, where you saw it first with the concerts, you saw it now with celebrity investors, and then celebrity gamers, and this is really just the next iteration of that, I think. So I'm really interested by it. I think it's going to be big, and I'm sure they're going to have some huge names on that first roster.
So Jimmy, I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with literally a single word you said. But am I the only one scratching my head that like this isn't new? Like why? Like haven't like plenty of other esports teams or orgs signed pro players? Like is it new because they're calling it a new vertical and saying like it's its own entity? Yes. I'm just like I feel like this is a strategy that is a good one, but is not remotely revolutionary, like in any sort of capacity. Not to take anything away from them. Like I think it's a good idea. I'm just confused when they're calling it like they're the first people ever to think to like sign like an athlete.
Is it a good idea though? Is it really? I'm not convinced. Like, look, we've seen YouGov data showing not that much overlap between traditional sports and esports. We've seen YouGov data showing vastly different age demographics between
in terms of audience you're talking about.
In terms of audience, right? I read this headline. It says J.R. Smith, Alicia Gray, Max Holloway, Sean O'Malley, Megan Anderson, Leonard Fournette, Ronnie Stanley, and Edwin Rios joined Complexity Stars. I don't know a single one of these people, and I'm sure I'm in the minority there, but I don't know not one of them, not one. And I just feel like the gaming audience would rather watch XQC than watch Max Holloway, right? Like there's a certain, yes, they have audiences. Yes, they have social media following. People will come and watch them play games. But I always think these traditional sports stars and celebrities who come to play games there's always going to be a ceiling, right? Like there's only so many people who care to watch Max Holloway play Fortnite at like an average level. You know what I mean? Like it's just not that exciting as content goes. And I feel like it's overhyped and there's so much emphasis put on their followings that we miss the fact of, is this really good entertainment? Because I've watched some of these guys on Twitch and women, right? And I find a lot of their streams exceedingly boring. Like many of them are just not good entertainers. Just because they can throw a football doesn't make them entertaining to me. And so I question, is this a good idea at all? And I come to the answer of no, it's not. It's not. It's just not. This is like, again, this is like the most basic thinking. It's like, wow, they have 1 million followers. Let's put them in front of a screen. I get it. Short-term impact, short-term sort of spike in viewership. Long-term, I don't see this as a trend. I don't see this as something that's going to be a big segment of the market. Like,
Paul, I think that's a great point. What I would say, I guess, would be a lot of the devil is in the details, because I think what you are saying could very well be a big risk and a big concern, and could be how this plays out. But if this is them, doing it on a rev share basis, and they're putting up some amount of capital because they're going to have to create this infrastructure, but it's largely infrastructure that they already have from dealing with other influencers. And they're kind of just taking that blueprint and putting it to different people. I think that if it's that, it's a decent shot on goal where some of these people might, because we're saying some of them might not be good, but
Jeff,
some of them might be good. And their audience might come over. But if they're giving these people guarantees, then I agree. It could turn out to be a complete disaster.
Can I just address that quickly? I think it's an excellent counterpoint. I think where that falls apart is talent agencies in the gaming world are now like a dime a dozen. They're the new land centers. Like if you have a pulse, you can go start a talent agency in the esports world. And at some point, there are so many of these that you compete all of the margin away, right? And so the rev share starts at 20% because it's new, and then when there's 1,000 of these talent agencies all repping two guys, right? Now the split is like 3%, and so the margin gets competed away, and so I just don't buy it in the long term. It's a great point, but I just don't buy it in the long term. Jimmy, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think Lindsay's been more patient than I have.
Go ahead,
so
Lindsay.
if you want to go first, Lindsay, and then I'll go.
Yeah, I about 90% agree with you, Paul, but that last 10%, I think, first of all, there's a big market of people who are famous for being famous. And when you can find those stars, those people who truly just can feed on their own fame and their own likeness, then it works out really well. I think that, I mean, you provide a lot of examples of athletes for sure. There's also like a whole wide range of celebrities who have talent at being entertainers. I think it completely depends on the mission of what this agency is trying to do. And if they're trying to build up someone who, like Juju Smith-Schuster, who is translated really well into gaming and has a whole bunch of partnerships. And he jokes that he's a TikTok star who plays football. Same thing with Lando. When we saw the McLaren people, they said he's an esports player who drives an F1 car. Like there's if you set out with the mission to cultivate that type of talent, then yeah, that's great. But if you're setting out with a mission to get the biggest names, then no, I don't think that this is a good idea.
It's a great point, Lindsay. But my gut check is Lando, because that's someone I know. I follow F1. I'm a big fan of F1, right? I'm a fan of Lando Norris. Lando Norris streams his gaming. The first time I tuned into a stream, I was like, this is cool. It's novel. It's Lando playing games. Like, this is neat, right? Second time, it's like, this is pretty cool. It's Lando playing a different game. This is neat. I have never watched Lando Norris stream past that, because every time I watch now, it's Lando Norris being like pretty average at most games.
Yeah.
And it's just like, once the novelty wears off, even someone I'm a fan of in a sport I follow, playing games I like, even that has doesn't hold any interest for me. That's my gut check.
So the problem there is like this direct application of putting Lando in the spot of a traditional streamer, which he's not. Like you said, they're not entertainers and they're not all that talented at games. I did an event where we had we had FaZe Clan, we had Liquid, we had LA Rams and LA Chargers playing Madden. I had a very famous rapper on as well. And the Madden showcase where this Charger and Rams guy played against each other in Madden was the lowest viewed portion of the entire event because no one cared and they weren't all that entertaining. It reminds me of the NBA 2K tournament that they did with the basketball players as well. What I will put in front of you is that's just the first activation, and I don't think that any of those were all that successful. I don't think that these guys are natural entertainers, but I do think that what that enabled was a conversation with other sponsors and with mainstream media, where you're now able to get in front of these bigger sponsors, these bigger distributors that you weren't normally able to get in front of because they didn't care. Because the same way you didn't recognize J.R. Smith or Leonard Fournette, both of which are world champions in their own sport, I wouldn't recognize, or the regular world wouldn't recognize XQC or half of the names that we talk about daily. So what these activations do is they enable that crossover where gaming does become that cultural center of pop culture. It's just really a matter of finding the right activation and how do we put these guys on a team with someone else, like the Ninja thing where Ninja and Drake and Juju and Travis Scott, right? Drake, Juju, and Travis Scott, three guys that, I don't know, Paul, if those names mean anything to you or not either, but these are huge guys in music, and Juju, of course, we were talking about, and they're playing Fortnite with Ninja, and that was one of the most viral clips of the year and one of the biggest things for Ninja's career, right? So again, just trying to highlight really that what this does is this creates some type of, I agree with you on the talent agencies being a dime a dozen. I agree with Jeff that this isn't all that new. What I'm saying is this is still needed. There are a lot of people that are mediocre entertainers in gaming and mediocre at gaming, but that have huge followings outside of gaming. And just by being a part of something, the optics change and the opportunities change on where they can take that event. It's just what they've done in the past has definitely been boring. So I'll leave it at that.
Any other thoughts on this, guys? The Ninja Drake one to me is like, it worked one time, right?
Yeah.
If Ninja and Drake streamed together every day, I think after 2 months, no one would care. And I don't think anyone would be watching Drake stream. Like, he sucked. He was bad. He was not good at the game.
Yeah.
There's opportunities
like
outside
god
of
awful,
streaming.
not even average.
There's stuff outside of streaming that would be so cool. I would love to see like Drake at like a tournament calling it or something. There's like so many, to Jimmy's points. There's like, you're talking about how they are.
No, you wouldn't, Lindsay. You wouldn't.
Yeah,
I would.
Like I would watch that. I would love that.
No, it's like, what's his face
No,
doing another one at Overwatch League, right? They thought, oh, this is so great. They're going to love this. Like it just,
but it's the same as Ninja at the ball drop in New Year's, right? Like you're putting these other guys in our world, and I'm saying you put us in theirs, and it's the same flat effect.
No, but this is, I think, where my opinion's unpopular is. It works one way, but not the other. It is not. I don't know what's the math term for when it only works in one direction. But like, I don't think it goes both ways here. Like, I think bringing the sports stars into the
either though. I don't think it's been figured out either, because if that were true, like I do truly think more people would know who Ninja is. Like, not that a vast part of the population doesn't, but I still talk to people who have no idea who that is. Like my age and younger.
Me too.
Truly.
The only way any of it
Drake.
works, the only way any of it works is through Fortnite, and I'm gonna assert that through Fortnite. Fortnite can make all of this happen and has.
Well, it's because it's the only game that these celebrities can like manage to play.
I also do think you need to be talented at entertaining. Like that's what this like at the end of the day, like I don't know that Drake is necessarily talented at entertaining. I threw that out there. Everyone's crapping on me for it. I get it. That's not the right activation. But if you take someone who's truly entertaining, that can hold a crowd and put them into different situations that aren't just streaming and that are in gaming, I think it could work. That's going to take a special agency with a special mission, and it's going to take the right people. I think that's why I said I 90% agree with you, because that small 5 to 10% chance that you get the right person at the right time and can find some creative activations is absolutely going to blow up. It's just a matter of how to do that.
The best example to your point that where it did work is the YBN rap group. If you guys have heard of them, they're on Warner Music. They're signed multi-platinum selling rappers. These guys would just play Grand Theft Auto, and while they're playing, they would just start rapping, freestyling while they're playing. Got signed to a rap deal, have hundreds of millions of views on YouTube on their music now, which again are albums and sales and that kind of thing. But these are guys that started up gaming and did that crossover really well, I thought.
But that's again moving in the direction that I said works, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Guys, let's move on. We're going to run out of time here, and I want to get through a couple of these other stories.
Fire round?
No,
not
yet. We're not there yet. Actually, before I get to this story, it's a good one, and it's a great one. It's great news for Jeff in particular. But before I get to that story, just a quick reminder, guys, the Business of Esports, this podcast, this live stream, supported by YouGov. They're a leading international research firm. They supply the best data on games, gamers, esports fans around the world. They have a bunch of free reports and free data. You can go check it out at yougov.com/gaming-esports. I'll put it in the chat. It's yougov.com/gaming-esports. If you're looking to make decisions in the space, you're looking to invest in the space, you're talking to brands and you need something to back up sort of your pitch to them, whatever you're doing, I highly recommend talking to them, see how they could be helpful. Myself, Jimmy can facilitate an introduction, but definitely go show them some love. Click the link, go check out the free reports. We really appreciate their support of the live stream. All right, guys, let's talk about this is big news for Jeff. I feel like And the headline here is Arkadium Advantage offers subscription gaming for seniors. And so this the article's about Arkadium launching a cross-platform subscription gaming service with casual games targeted at senior citizens. They offer a collection of more than 100 games as an ad-free subscription, as an ad-free experience for a subscription fee of $30 a year or $4 a month. And they're launching in time for the holidays, blah, blah, blah. And it really is targeted at senior citizens. Supposedly, they will have unique app-specific features, like untimed modes, so there's no stress, extra moves, extra layouts, like easier puzzle layouts, things like that. So to appeal to a more senior or casual player. And what they're betting on is growth in the 55 plus segment. I'm curious in general, Lindsay, what do you think of this? Like, are you a big fan of another subscription service? Like, does the world need this, first of all? None of us here are senior citizens. Obviously, I'm teasing Jeff. But
no, Jeff is a senior citizen. He's just trapped in a young person body.
Fair.
They have Mahjong, daily crossword, word wipe. What do you think of it?
So I don't see this as like a high sale product. I don't know. What I see this as good for is as a way to easily avoid scams, which is, I guess, kind of sad, but I don't know. I'm trying to see like the good in this. And the good thing that I do see is that then you're not then there's a way for an older person to not have to either ask a younger person or download a crap game and wind up with a virus. Those are like the two positives I can kind of see. Do I think that warrants, and those are positives, but do I think that warrants anything that's not a free service? I don't think so. Like, I think it would be easier if like AARP just put out like top 10 mobile downloads of the year and called it a day. I don't think a game pass for this is necessarily the way to go.
But isn't this easier than like free to play where you have to fumble with in-game payments? And like, I feel like here you pay $4 a month. It's a small amount. Like, do you not feel that it's a small enough amount that it's basically almost free? I mean, it's like a Starbucks coffee, right? Like,
it is super cheap. $30 for a year is nothing. I don't know. I just don't know if it's because there's so many things that are offered for free and there's so many resources on how to use them. I don't know that I'm completely sold that paying for it would work. I mean, but honestly, I bet this didn't take that much to put together either. And as long as they get, 10,000 subscribers, I bet it's pretty profitable. So I don't think it's necessarily a loss to try. Do I think this is going to be like a Fortune 500 company in the next 20 years? No. I don't know. It doesn't excite me necessarily, but there's a lot of good things I could say about it, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
By the way, I missed some of these. So Antonio says spot on, Lindsay. Agrees with you completely. I missed before Antonio agreed with me on the previous story. And Adam definitely didn't want Drake again or every day. But Jeff, to you on this, like at a $4 a month business model, like, are there enough seniors playing games in your mind? Is this a large enough growth segment that there's a real business to be had here?
No, I think I agree with Lindsay. I think the idea of targeting seniors and actually tailoring the games to seniors, like bigger letters and whatever they said in that article, actually has some merits, particularly as, the current mobile gaming demographic is kind of like a 50 to 60-year-old woman typically. So like in 5-10 years, those people are aging up, and maybe you can convince me that they might want tailored content or different parts of the game to be kind of changed to their liking as they age. I just don't understand why the business model has to be a subscription. I see what you're saying, where it takes away some of the complexity and it takes away some of the, I guess complexity is the word, but it also limits the spend ceiling, right? Like to your direct question to me, like, no, I don't think you can build a big enough subscription just with, having your ARPU be capped out at $30 a year. Like, kind of one of the benefits of mobile gaming and free to play is that you have these whales that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And to limit that, it's the same issue that Apple Arcade had. It just doesn't, there's not enough people that want that subscription when there's free content out there. So unless you're giving them a better value proposition, free is a pretty good value proposition. So I'm not convinced that the subscription piece of it works. I also find it funny that they're saying 55 and older is senior. That seems a bit young to me to be like needing like big letters or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, but who knows? You advertise this on Fox News, maybe you get Tucker talking about it, and I think you can get it. You can get some good subscribers.
What I see what's going to happen is you're going to have a small test pool of subscribers of people that are using this. They're going to measure things like cognitive function and its an impact right on these minds as they get very old. And you're going to have studies come out the same way we have studies for young kids on how it gets them out of their shell, how it increases their confidence, how they're doing better in school. We're going to have similar studies, I think, for this older demographic. And then there are going to be games that are FDA approved, like the one that they have for ADHD. There are going to be games that are going to help with again, these older minds that are just sitting in front of a TV, wasting away in nursing homes. And now they're going to be more active, more social, sharper from these puzzles. And then there's going to be some type of insurance angle where this becomes less of a, how do I get that individual user to pay for the subscription? It's going to be a big insurance company that is paying for this mass. I think that's the play for this company is how do I get this in front of like a Blue Cross or a Blue Shield or whatever it is and get this into hundreds of senior facilities throughout the United States or throughout wherever my domain is and get them all free access for them because I'm billing it through their insurance. That's what I see as a win here.
I think that's definitely an interesting thought where, and we've touched on this like at least once or twice on the podcast where gaming is a prescription. And if they can position themselves in that way, like this company maybe has an interesting shot, right? Like if you can get doctors prescribing this subscription service to their senior patients, because there's real health benefits or mental health benefits. Lindsay, you're giving me a weird look like I'm talking crazy.
No, Jimmy, I think you should go work for this company. That was really smart.
Yeah, the insurance part was really smart.
Or we should start this.
Start a competing business.
No, the scholarships make a lot more sense. All right,
we'll do both. You get the scholarships.
Get them coming in and going. Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's move on. I got one last story here, and this one was a head scratcher, and I'm hoping you guys can shed some light on this for me. And the question I have, I'll ask it before I even show the story. What the hell is Atari up to? What is Atari doing in the gaming space? I can't figure it out. The headline here is Atari snaps up Moby Games gaming database for 1.1 million. This is British pounds. So they announced that they're acquiring a user-driven video game database, Moby Games. It's a resource for gaming history fans. You can upload summaries, screenshots, box art, and information on developers and their work. It covers games from the very first ones in the 1970s to upcoming releases. They have 300,000 unique titles in their database. It's all volunteer fact checkers like Wikipedia style. Now, the end of this article is sort of where my question mark was, which is Atari, I thought, and we discussed it on the podcast, announced that they were going to focus on console and PC. They're not going to do as much free to play, like arcade style games anymore. Where does this database fit into that? I'm really, could someone please explain this acquisition to me? Anyone? Jeff, do you want to take a crack at it?
Atari is, I'm not sure what they're doing, to be honest. Didn't they sell the virtual land as well?
And at one point, it was like that rapper who was claiming that he owns Atari.
That was funny, but it does seem like it's just like it's sort of become like a meme brand, where I don't even know. It almost feels like it's being run by The Onion or something, where it's like someone sitting there being like, "What is the most ridiculous thing we can say or do?" I'm not even sure if they're doing these things or if they're just putting out headlines saying they're doing things to generate clicks and impressions. It is genuinely just bizarre, all of these moves they're making.
It is odd. Greg says it's a PR move and it works. You are speaking about it. True, but they spent over what's 1.1 million pounds in dollars? Like $1.5 million, something like that. Closer to 2 million. I don't know if anyone has the conversion fast. Lindsay, you were shaking your head.
No, I mean, I was sort of excited when Atari talked about revamping and refocusing and coming back and all of that. And now every move that's been made since then, I'm like, don't know if I get it, but maybe they know something I don't. Who knows?
Jimmy, how can they monetize
1.4, by the way, 1.46.
How do they monetize this database? What does Atari do with this?
Yeah, they go to some poor unsuspecting sap and they say, look at all these companies we've acquired recently and all these cool things we're doing in technology and space, and don't you want to buy us because we own properties that aren't just free to play games? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how this fits in the grand scheme of things. It's an acquisition. It's cheap. I don't know anything.
It doesn't fit at all with their plan to supposedly focus on console and PC. It feels a little bit like a company and a brand that's totally adrift, right? Am I wrong on this one? Like, is there any hope for Atari, really? Like, will we even be talking about them 5 years from now?
I'm surprised we're still talking about them.
They'll be doing ridiculous. Yeah, we'll be talking about the ridiculous thing that they
There's
did.
stuff like this that we're exactly,
Yeah.
Jeff, exactly.
It's to Greg's point.
This is true. Who thinks we'll be talking about Complexity Stars 1 year from today?
Absolutely, we'll be talking about how great it was, and
1 year's pretty short, I think so.
No chance.
Depends on who they get.
1 year, it's short.
No, zero chance.
Say 5 years, and then say 3 years, and maybe not, but 1 year's pretty short.
we'll be talking about it to talk about how Paul was right. That's the right answer.
There you go.
So we can be right that we'll be talking about it, and Paul will be right that it wasn't a good idea.
Greg has a comment on the Atari story, by the way, if you check the chat.
I did. I read that one. It's a PR move
sorry,
and it
I
works.
totally missed that.
God, Jimmy, you're just not paying attention.
My God.
Definitely not.
Amateur hour over here.
Busted.
Yeah.
Time to wrap up the show.
On that note, that does wrap up this week's live stream, guys.
Oh my goodness.
A couple of reminders. Make sure to check out the podcast this week. Good episode again with Anita Sharma Law. Definitely go check out the Meta Business Podcast. Just go subscribe to it. It'll show up everywhere you get your podcasts. Go subscribe to like Metaverse TV also, which is the umbrella brand for all these new shows we're doing. And go subscribe to Lindsay's new podcast coming out next week. So the Meta Woman Podcast. So all this new content literally coming out over the next 5 days. And send us feedback. Tell us if you love it, if you hate it. We want to know,
Except
especially
for me.
what you
Only
guys
tell
think.
me that you love me. I'm very fragile.
That's
Just
it.
putting it out
For
there.
Lindsay's podcast, only tell her you love it.
And only send Jeff your hate mail. He can handle it. He's a 1-star Yelp review kind of guy.
But on that note, guys, make sure to follow us everywhere. Business of Esports on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Like, even if you listen to it on Apple Podcasts, go subscribe on Spotify as well. It helps other people to find and discover the content. We thank all of you guys for coming and participating. Lindsay, Jeff, Jimmy, thank you, all of you, for being amazing. And we will see you guys next week.